Hello everyone. I know I said that I would be taking some time from a break from reviewing, though to be fair, at the time of this recording, it's been about 2 weeks since I did my last recording session. I basically was kind of a bit of a bind because I really wasn't sure whether I wanted to review the 17 MLP movie or the Season 8 opener. So I was kind of tossing it back and forth, but then I looked at the title of my playlist of why I even did these in the first place, and considering that it's episode reviews, so finally I'm just biting the bullet and I'm just saying, fuck it. So tonight we're going to be reviewing the Season 8 episode, but before we begin, I do want to give my brief thoughts on the movie. On the 2017 MLP movie. Honestly, as a whole, I thought the movie was good. Yes, it does have some cliches. Yes, it has some stupid moments. Grubber is one of the most annoying characters in the entire movie that makes me want to move my testicles with a spatula every time he's on screen. And the songs can be forgettable on first watch, but Tempest was interesting. The animation was jaw-dropping. And there was just a lot of charm to the film that even in spite of its problems, I couldn't find myself to hate it all that much. Is it a masterpiece? No. Is it a god-awful movie to the point where other reviewers compared it to the Emoji Movie? God, no. Honestly, for me, and I might be biased, but I thought the 2017 My Little Pony movie was good. For me, a solid 8 out of 10. Alright, so with all that, let's just dig into it, but we got a season ahead of us, but let's just get into it. Let's kick off the first part of our Season 8 premiere, School Daze. So our episode begins with exposition, and part of the reason why I wanted to review the movie in the first place, where we open up to see that the cutie map actually expanded itself. Because part of the reason why I was kind of leaning in on wanting to review the movie is because the movie is considered canon. So just listen to this exposition as the main stick spot a bunch of exposition.
Well, we were gone? Wow, those are all the places we went when we left to save Equestria. Ugh, there's that horrid town where we were almost sold. The pirates! They were pretty awesome.
Yeah, so anyone who has not seen the movie will probably be scratching their heads and wondering what exactly they're talking about. Which is, like I said, part of the reason why I am so glad this movie is considered canon. And the reason why I'm stopping it now is kind of makes you wonder how the pirates in the movie got their ship back, considering that one of the villains, Tempest, destroyed their ship, and that we presumed that they were dead, if not for the fact that they showed shots of them in the trailer appearing in the climax and on promos of the movie, so oops.
Once they decided not to throw us overboard. And now earrings! Oh, Starlight, did you know we made seashell necklaces for all the sea ponies?
The less I talk about that scene, the better. And Starlight doesn't really know about that, considering that she was only in the movie for like 2 minutes. Well, 2 seconds at most. Maybe 5 if I'm being generous.
You really? What about that unicorn, the one who attacked Camelot? Tempest. I invited her to come to Ponyville, but she wanted to spread the word of the Storm King's defeat and share what she learned about friendship.
Yeah, it's too bad that we're not really going to see her for the rest of the series, and I guess, to be fair, I don't really know if it was a joke. I don't know what the reason could be for. I mean, I'm not sure if DHX or Hasbro could afford to get Emily Blunt to reprise her roles, as Tempest, but honestly, it kind of is what it is. Let's just be thankful what we have is, as I said, let's just be thankful that the movie that we did see was canon. So let's pray our lucky stars that it wasn't like a one-shot thing.
Y'all think that's why the map grew? Friendship quests beyond Equestria? I hope not. I've had quite enough life-threatening adventures, thank you very much.
Considering that you and Applejack barely did anything in the movie up until the climax. That was one of the things that kind of bugged me, because most of the movie centered around between Twilight and Pinkie. The most that Rainbow Dash and Rarity did in the movie was essentially help out with the side characters in the movie, and Applejack and Fluttershy barely did a damn thing up until the climax.
How many friendship quests do you think we need to go on before we have to expand the throne room? We can't do it all alone. Sure we can. You mean to knock this wall down? See? No, I mean the world is filled with so many different creatures who know nothing about friendship. We need help if we're going to teach them all about friendship. Lots of help. Perhaps. But where do one go to learn about friendship? Here. They can all go here. Because we're going to open a school.
Okay, so my reactions to this idea are mixed. On the one hand, I do see the logic where, from what we saw in the movie, there were a ton of creatures that knew almost nothing about friendship. So I get the idea of why they wanted to open the school. On the other hand, this basically kind of contradicts what Princess Celestia said on the series premiere, where friendship can't be taught, but now, 7 seasons later, it's like, oh, we can teach friendship in the school now. So, that seems to be very contradictory on every meaning of the word, and after the opening, Twilight basically gives the idea to Princess Celestia.
Twilight, I'll help in any way I can.
I just have a few questions. What time should school start each day? What's the ideal length for Flapper's back?
If anyone knows how to run a school, it's you.
Again, really kind of contradicts what Princess Celestia said way back in the series premiere about how friendship can be taught. Again, kind of contradictory. But essentially there has to be a process that Twilight has to go through.
How to run a school?
The EEA? I've never heard of that. Should I have heard of that?
Of course not. You've never run a school before. The Equestria Education Association is a board of learned ponies that oversee every school in Equestria.
Even your school? But you're few.
Not even a princess can do whatever she likes when it comes to shaping young pony minds.
So yeah, kind of clears up the plot hole of why Celestia hasn't gone full-on tyrant in Equestria. So it's nice to know that her status as a princess are limited.
The EEA ensures that whether it's unicorns studying magic, Pegasi learning weather, or Earth ponies researching agriculture, all schools are held to the same high standard.
Alright, and by the way, I understand that the Fiery Joker did his review of this episode, and he went into great details on this subject matter, but here's the thing. I was only an early childhood education major for about a semester at Mitchell. I was not very good at it, and it was not over to a good fit. I switched over to a business major and never went back for years. So if you're expecting me to do what the Fiery Joker did and go into great detail on all the intricacies and complexities of learning how to run a school, the different types of students there are, I am not the person you should be asking about, because I really do not have any of that knowledge, nor do I care. I'm just going to be watching the episode for what is given to me and just taking the information that they're saying with a grain of salt. So essentially, Twilight and Spike basically come across Chancellor Nace, who, believe it or not, is voiced by Maurice Lamar. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing the last name incorrectly, but essentially, they got Brain from Pinky and the Brain and Father from Codename Kids Next Door to voice one of the characters.
Twilight Sparkle. I am Chancellor Nace. Equestria owes you a great debt. But princess or no, we expect you to do things by the book.
So yeah, that's another actor from my childhood I did not expect to get. But yeah, Chancellor Nace really seems to be giving a very, let's just say, I mean, the room is all black, and everybody seems to be in a dimly lit room where under the shadows in the EEA. So he hands Twilight a book that essentially lists all the rules of how to run the school and how to do everything by the book.
My curriculum meets all your requirements, Chancellor.
Okay, honestly, I can't wait to hold off, Joe, but honestly, with the fact that The fact that Chancellor Naze is voiced by the same guy who voiced his father from Codename Kid Next Door, and considering that they're in a deadly it room that almost seems like Organization 13 is running it, I'm half expecting him to make a rant of how to stop the kids next door next.
And can we trust you to follow through with this plan? You leave the school unattended to gallop off on your adventures. I will no longer tolerate failure. Destroy the kids next door, or else.
Yeah, I'm literally half expecting him to just do that in the middle of a sentence.
My journey beyond Equestria showed me first hook.
So Chancellor Naze gives him the chance, and we get to see the world building as essentially Twilight through a really rather awesome opening of the school. Sees that the main six are in charge of being the teachers. Like I said, I am not an educator. If you want to know my thoughts about it, just see the Fiery Joker's review. He gives more greater details than I do, and I'm not the person you should be asking.
Dressing the part would help me feel the part, not your dress. This, us, teaching, they're gonna think I'm an egghead. Well, the students are gonna love my confetti cannon class.
So essentially, while the main six thought about the idea of teaching their own way, Twilight basically says, no, we have to follow the EAA's rules.
I know it's not some big adventure against the forces of evil, but this could be the most important thing we've ever done. I can't run a school of friendship without my best friends. Can I count on you? Of course you can, darling. Call me Professor Egghead. I'm in.
So they basically give in, and we get to meet a lot of the bunch of races. God, what am I saying?
Your living quarters.
So essentially we meet some of the characters that we're going to be focusing on.
Whoa, sorry. I'm Sandbar. Are you a student here too?
No, I just figured I'd randomly stand here and see how many ponies would walk into me.
I like this kid. Okay, so yeah, so these are essentially some of the characters that are introduced. The young pony named Sandbar and a griffin named Gallus.
Gallus!
Grandpa Gruff, what are you doing here?
Flew all the way from Griffinstone to introduce Gallus.
So yeah, it's nice to see the Griffins again, which, believe it or not, we really have not seen since Treasure of Griffinstone, so it's nice to know we have more Griffin characters.
Rainbow Dash, right? Gilda told me about you. You're a teacher? Thought you'd be cooler.
I like this kid.
Ponies!
Oh, god damn it. Okay, so while it's nice to see the Griffins again, we have to kind of expect the Yaks to show up. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to kind of expect that, considering how much the past Yak episodes are not really that good. But Prince Brotherfoot actually introduces a new Yak.
She comes to It's Yoda Yak. She comes to pony school. Make it better.
Yes, can't wait to meet ponies and tell all about yes, Sam.
Okay, I'm going to say it right now, Yona is the best of the new characters by far. Because she's innocent, she's a bit clumsy, a bit awkward, but she has such a likable presence, and can we just be thankful for once that we have a Yak character who's not an asshole? I just wanted to throw that out there. So while we get introduced to two of the old races, God, it feels so weird saying that, we actually get to see a new character of a race that we are aware of the dragons, where we get to see Princess Ember bringing a new dragon named Smolder.
Why am I here? Because, as Dragon Lord, I'm ordering you to be here. Hey, Spike! Come meet Smolder.
Great to see you, Ember.
And plus, we get to see Smolder and Spike interacting more. I love that.
Which one is Smolder?
But instead of one, we also get two.
What did we talk about?
My precious being Leader and Thorax, where we get to meet a new changeling named Ocellus.
I told you, stay in your
own form. It's the polite thing to do. Sorry, she's shy.
What is...
And we actually get to meet another new character from the Hippogriffs, which was a new race that was introduced in the movies.
No way! I didn't know ponies could turn into... what are you?
A changeling.
Ponies can turn into changelings? No, the changelings can turn into ponies. Huh, that's confusing.
So you're wondering who exactly this new bubbly character is, who is essentially going to be the Pinkie Pie of the group.
I am General Seaspray of Her Majesty Queen Novo's Navy. I would like to introduce the Queen's niece, Silverstream.
Yeah, it took me a while to figure out the name. That's why I held off. So Silverstream, the niece of Queen Novo. Why exactly they didn't bother to bring her back into the movie, considering that in the movie she was voiced by the same actress as Bismuth in Steven Universe? But then again, I'm assuming that Steven Universe was still airing at the time of this episode, so I'm assuming they couldn't get her to reprise her role, since I'm assuming that she was busy voicing Bismuth during that time. But again, it's kind of like, why even bother trying to bring him in the movie? Please. Also, General Seaspray. Considering that there is a character in Transformers Generation 1 named Seaspray, I'm kind of half expecting him to just transform into something.
This place is amazing!
So then Twilight basically introduces the school, and gives the motivational speech.
Looks like this session. The school of friendship.
Yeah, I probably should mention it while I mute this. So, yeah. The first song of the season, and it's... I mean, the lyrics are just kind of vague. It's just kind of like bouncy do-do-do-do music. And honestly, it's just kind of there. I mean, it's not the worst, but it's just not really all that interesting. And honestly, you may have noticed we're probably about like 10 minutes into the episode, and really what it boils down to is that essentially the main six try to do their own thing, but Twilight is forcing them to go by the book, and the students don't really like it all that much. And I don't even know how to comment on this, because like I said, I am not an education major. I do not know the ins and outs of a school. I don't know the ins and outs of learning, even though I did this for my senior internship, but I don't know how else to critique this. But essentially, our 6 new characters that we were introduced, who everyone now refers to them as the Young Six, basically feel the exact same sentiment after the relatively uninteresting song.
Am I bored? Please. These ponies are the heroes of Equestria?
Listen, these ponies saved all of us from the Storm King.
And the amounts of other threats that have happened to threaten Equestria over the past 7 seasons.
How? By boring him into surrender?
Considering that the Storm King is actually turned to stone and shattered and is, dead, I think that's really not...
Teachers are a little different than I expected.
So after the Young Six get into a tussle, the main 6 do try to break it up.
Go to your next class.
Friends.
Everyone, go to your next class.
Okay, so this might be a good time to point something out. You wonder how throughout the course of the season we basically just come accustomed to say every pony. Well, that little slip up that Applejack said with essentially considering that they're now dealing with other races and not just ponies, that's why they're kind of saying everyone now. So, kind of hints of subtext of what's going to happen in the future. So,
Just a friendly discussion about the magic of friendship amongst friends.
Terrible teachers! Face it, this school isn't gonna work.
yeah, so essentially because of that, the rest of the main 6 go talk to Twilight and address their concerns.
And make sure they do. School that follows their EEA will be here this afternoon for Friends and Family Day. They need to see a school that follows their guidelines.
Even if those guidelines aren't working?
Well then, we have to try harder and make sure they do. Another morning, another chance to inspire our students.
Right.
Hey.
So essentially, the Young Six actually do get together, and through a little bit of a with Ocellus' help in changing the rarity, they actually do a good job at tricking Fluttershy, and they actually start to bond.
I take back everything I said about you. That was cool.
Thanks. Wait, what did you say, Mommy?
You know, with the way how these kids interact, I swear to God, they're like the kid from The Land Before Time, considering how they basically ditch class.
You're sure sticking to the book is gonna work?
Oh boy. Okay. It's been a long time since I've seen this episode. It's been about a good, like, when did this episode come out? 2018? Late 2017, I think. Yeah, 2018. So it's been a long time since this episode came out, and let's just say I kind of need to brace myself, because let's just say from kind of the thing I addressed with the Applejack line, we're about to enter a very, very touchy subject. So essentially, Chancellor Naysay drops by and gets over to the school, as Twilight then realizes that the Young Six has disappeared. But, as I said earlier, through that interaction from earlier, we see the Young Six actually getting along very well.
They do not. Wait, do they? No. Really? Griffin's just full of hot air.
So this kind of leans into kind of the good idea of what it introduces as well, because 9 times out of 10, when it comes to friendship, it can't really be forced upon. It just kind of naturally happens. Like, even if you don't necessarily share a lot of the same interests with some people, well, when you're just interacting with them and having a good time, friendship just naturally happens when you start to get to know the person. So I really like how the Young Six really interact off this, and we see them essentially having fun, as essentially the main six and Starlight try to cover while Chancellor Naysay is basically giving them the death glare, and I'm kind of half expecting of him to basically try to take over the world at this point.
We want to instill a sense of loyalty towards others. We encourage acts of generosity and kindness.
You shouldn't be the only ones enjoying the view.
Yes, not best at flying! An appreciation for the value of laughter. Flying is best!
Like I said, Yona is the best of the Young Six. Fight me.
Congratulations, yes!
So let's just get to the bits and pieces of it, as basically the rest of the leaders come, and alright, let's just rip the Band-Aid off. Let's fucking do this.
How dare you? This act of aggression against ponies.
I'm so sorry, Chancellor. We clearly had some students get a little carried away.
Those are students? But you said you were opening this school to protect Equestria, to defend ponies from dangerous creatures who don't have our best interests at heart.
What the hell did you just say?
Okay. Alright, so, okay, you know what? Screw it. This is probably a better time to point this out, but, yeah, there's not a better time to point this out, but, Chancellor Naysay is kind of...
Racist!
Yeah. So, we have a racist on our hands, and, it's kind of a touchy subject to work around. So, yeah, okay, I am trying to figure out this delicate balance outside of the jokes, but yeah, even though watching this scene in and of itself is a little hard to watch for me, I do have to give this episode props for actually having the balls to actually kind of address this issue, as basically Chancellor Naysay basically goes on this tirade against the other races.
Against us.
Friendship isn't just for ponies.
It should be.
Unicorns think yaks don't need friendship. Maybe yaks don't need pony school.
And considering how these are the guys that almost declared war on you 3 seasons ago, I would incline to believe that they are strong, but they probably still get their asses kicked.
Well, then perhaps you should return to your kind.
So yeah, they brought a racist character, and I really can't hate him. Well, I hate what he's doing, but believe me, compared to some other real-life racists, he's really tame by comparison. Okay, tame's not really the right word. But essentially because of his biased racism...
Where is Peyton? It's fine. We know not every pony sees us the way you do. Or used to it.
I really just want to give Thorax a hug right now.
Princess Celestia helped me reach out to all the kingdoms. When she hears you close the school
Because you failed to meet the EEA standards?
What?
Irresponsible teachers, students skipping class, endangering ponies. Your school is a disaster. Perhaps if you had higher standards for who was admitted, this could have been avoided.
You fucking jackass!
Yeah. So let's just kind of get through the rough part, because basically Chancellor Naysay, under hires of authority for whatever reason, like he's God, basically closes down Twilight School, ending Part 1. And even though my heart is beating right now, I do have to give this episode props. I mean, yeah, I think the beginning couple of minutes are not really all that interesting, considering that the subject matters of schools and teaching is honestly not really in my wheelhouse. I do have to give this episode props for not only continuing to expand upon the world, especially making the movie canon, as I said, and even more so, introducing all the new races. The Young Six are really likable and they're all right. Admittedly, so far, Sandbar is honestly, out of everybody in the Young Six, is probably the least interesting. But Yona, Gallus, Ocellus, Smolder, and Silverstream are all enjoyable in their own right. And Chancellor Naysay is actually a very interesting antagonist, even though he's a bit of a racist, but that kind of gives the nice underlying tone of addressing the bits of the racism, with kind of addressing everyone as every pony to everyone, dealing they're not teaching other races. And so far, even though I am not a huge fan of it, I do like how they are addressing the racism, and honestly, it kind of makes me wonder how they're going to handle Part 2. So yeah, even though this was a bit rough to kind of get back into it, it's actually a lot better than I remember it, even if the racist that is Chancellor Naysay makes me want to break his horn off and punch him right in the face, but it makes kind of sense. Alright, so obviously I think School Daze Part 1, I think if I'm being honest, I think it's probably an A-. Like I said, I think really the only negative critique I would have to give this first part is that just kind of how it contradicts everything that Princess Celestia said at the end of the series premiere, and on top of that, it is kind of dull just getting through like the first 12 minutes. But once we focus on the Young Six, it actually starts to pick up a bit. So yeah, honestly, School Daze is A-. Part 1 in any case. Alright, okay, we're only one episode into Season 8, and we still got a whole season ahead of us, but honestly, I'm honestly looking forward to seeing what Part 2 has in store for us. So with that, next time I will be looking at Part 2, where we're going to be looking more into the adventures of the Young Six, and the territory of a lot more racism. See you guys next time!